Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I have another layout using the August Mark and Company kit. It took me an hour and 41 minutes to complete it, and it's the second layout using this kit. Now I'm going to use that cut and paste pattern paper, and I want it as a background, but I really like that circle and I didn't want to throw it away. So I just took an X-Acto knife and I just kind of roughly cut around it, and then I just showed you that I'm going to then go with my scissors and kind of even it out a little bit better. But I don't need it for this page, so I just kind of put it aside. And then I'm going to use a Studio Calico, two different Studio Calico sheets. And I also showed a Pebbles sheet, but I don't believe, yes, I do use it. I use it on this layout also. And then here are some of the embellishments that I might be using. Most of it is from the kit. Trying to see if there's anything that's not from the kit. There might be a couple of things that's not from the kit. So I'm going to keep that ray of sunshine one as my background, and then I'm going to cut down that vanilla cardstock to 11 by 11. So then you kind of see sort of the rays of the sunshine going around the vanilla cardstock. And I'm doing pictures of one of our favorite activities to do in the summer. Not far from where we live, maybe it's the same community, but it's maybe 10 minutes from our house. There is a drive-in theater, which those are very few and far between. Like most of them are, shut down, and actually ours was shut down for about 5 years, and then the city, we all petitioned and we got it back. Where I live, it's very much so a place where people come and vacation in the summer. We have a beach that, is quite well known. And so there's a lot of people that come and stay to go at the beach. And we always, joke and say that our little, city or town triples in the summertime. And so that's what the argument was there's enough tourists in the summer that drive-in is always full. So anyway, I think they got also government funding because there was enough people that wanted it open. So now we have our little drive-in every summer. So this was that summer that I took these pictures. We went absolutely every single weekend. There was a lot of good releases that summer. And every weekend there was something that was good at the drive-in. So we managed to be able to go every weekend, which was nice. Now last summer we didn't get to go once because every time we checked it wasn't movies that we don't go just to go. It's got to be good movies. And last summer didn't seem to be as many good movies. So I mounted those. I cut down two of the photos so they made sort of a 4x6, and one of them says the name of the drive-in and what was playing that night. The other one just shows kind of a lineup. There's always a lineup to get in, and then just inside waiting for the driving to start. So I got 3 pictures and I mounted the whole thing on a light yellow cardstock. I kind of let it overhang a little bit because I want to put my title on that spot. And then I cut the branding strip off that pattern paper, and it was a Studio Calico paper. And I'm just going to cut it down to a size that, doesn't fit the whole background, but just enough so that it kind of adds interest. Now that Studio Calico paper, the reason I chose it, it just reminded me of movies. There's I don't know why. There's just so much stuff going on. It just kind of reminded me of movies. So that's why I want to put that there. Then I cut down that Pebbles paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my punch, and it is the postal stamp punch. And I'm going to punch out three borders. 2 of them is just below and above that pattern paper that I said that reminds me of movies, and then the other one is going to be under the photos, to sort of kind of frame where my title is going to go. So once I have it punched out, then I just cut it down to size. And then I'm just going to make also, like I said, a small border to go underneath where the pictures are. So that one, obviously, I don't have to make it so that it's the whole 12-inch. I basically made it so that it was only 6 inches actually, and it kind of just fits underneath the photo. Actually, what I could have done for the other borders was just cut one down and then just use it for the, because most of that border is hidden behind the photo. But I didn't want to fuss with having to make sure that they were equal, and so I just thought, it's only a 3/4 inch paper, 1 inch paper by 12. It's not that much of a big deal, so I'm just going to keep it that way. Then I'm going to cut down another piece of that yellow pattern paper, and I'm just going to stick it right there so that there's yellow paper at the top of the layout and then yellow paper again at the bottom, and that's where I'm going to put my title. And then I know I want to use that frame, and the reason I want to use that frame was it reminded me of a film. So that black frame, what I was saying, the recording had stopped, but thankfully I check it often now so I didn't lose too much. That frame reminded me of a film strip. So where this was the movies and the drive-in, I thought it'd be nice to add this to the page. Now I cut apart that die cut that had different colors. It had, a lot of yellows, and I'm going to put it at the top of the layout. And then I used a journaling card that was sort of a yellow grid, and I'm going to put it to the bottom left of the layout, and that's where I'm going to do my journaling. And that's also where I'm going to put that frame. I'm going to end up cutting that frame in sort of 3/4 and 1/4, or 2/3 and 1/3, and I'm going to use it in 2 different spots on the layout. I took out those cork stickers. There were stars, and I'm going to distress them a little bit later on. I thought maybe of using those asterisk chipboard letters, but I'm not going to use them. And before the recording started, I went through the kit, and I knew I was going to go with yellow, so I pulled out all the yellow embellishments that I liked from the kit. And then while I'm doing the page, then I'm going to go through the rest of the stuff that I pulled aside to go with this from my stash so that I could use it with this kit. I'm going to go through that and pull out some more embellishments. So now I'm going to glue down that frame on top of that journaling block, and the other part of the frame is going to go to the other side of the layout. And once I feel like, I have enough stuff, then that's when I start gluing everything down. But at this point, I know where a few of my clusters are going to start going, but I don't have enough to start building. So this is where now I'm going to go to my stash, and I'm going to start pulling out different stickers and different embellishments to add to the page. So I'm going to pull out some October afternoon stickers. And those are, I'm not going to end up using the puffy stickers, but the October afternoon stickers, I'm going to choose a few yellow ones, and then I'm going to use my EK Success powder tool to take away the stickiness. So then I can just kind of move them around on my page and not have to worry about it sticking anywhere on my layout. This one here was a pinked circle, so I thought it went well with the whole, the sun setting and that kind of stuff. And then I pulled out my Amy Tangerine cut and paste chipboard stickers. There was one that was a ticket, so it was perfect. There was a couple that were yellow stars, so again, perfect for this layout because I want to bring the star motif in. And then there was a yellow chevron arrow, so I'm going to use that. And again, I'm just kind of throwing everything in the middle of the page. I'm not really sure what I'm going to, what I'm going to use or where I'm going to use it, but I'm just trying to build up a nice little amount of embellishments. And once I feel like I have enough, I'm going to start moving everything around and gluing it down. And again, I just make sure that that I have at least 3 of everything. So the labels, I took out 3 labels, and there was only 2 stars, but I took out 2 stars and a yellow chevron. And I'm going to go get some tiny word stickers in yellow, when I'm going to take out 3 yellow words, and I'm going to take out 3 banners, or 2 of them are banners and 1 of them is a tab, but they're all the same kind of tone of color. I'm just trying to take at least 3 of everything, and then once I'm ready, then I'm going to start moving them around on the page. So at one point I'm going to feel like I'm feeling really constrained, so I'm going to take a few minutes and just kind of start moving everything. I might even turn off the camera, because you only see like the puffy stickers and a little bit on the other side, but there's actually quite a bit of stuff like everywhere. So I feel a little bit claustrophobic when it gets to that point, so I take a few minutes and just kind of clean up and then move on from there. Most of the time I try to wait till the page is done, but sometimes I can't. I gotta clean it up right then and there, and then I move on and finish the layout. So now I feel like I have enough embellishments, so I'm going to start gluing everything down. Now this little tab here, I hadn't finished cutting it out, so I'm going to cut that out, and I'm using my ETG gun, and I'm going to glue everything down. But before I do that, I'm going to take my close to my heart marker, or writer marker, and I'm going to outline all the pattern papers. And I really like using those bags, but the top of the bag kept flipping over, so I just kind of flipped the bag over, and then I was able to outline it. And then I'm going to outline that little one that was on the bottom of where the title is going to go. And now I'm just going to flip that one, that cluster of pattern paper over, and this is where I'm going to outline that bigger pattern paper. And I'm not going to outline those little strips because they kind of have something punch out of them, and I find it really hard to outline that kind of stuff. So, okay, I wanted to keep that star theme going on, so I have a Martha Stewart template, and it kind of has 3 different little clusters of different embellishments. One is circles, hearts, and stars. So I'm going to use the star side, and I'm going to put it in a couple of different spots on the layout, and I'm using my butter bar. And it was the weirdest thing, the ink kept turning green, which it was a brand new sponge, so it wasn't a dirty sponge, and you can kind of tell it's kind of darker in some spots, and it was actually turning green. So I don't know if, because the template is blue and yellow and blue makes green, so I don't know if the ink off the template was coming off, but anyway, most of that part is covered up anyway. So I just showed you, I had stopped for the day, and before I came back, I just sewed in a few different spots wherever there was going to be a cluster in black. And I'm trying to use my sewing machine a little bit more. A few months back on my Facebook group, I had made it so that it was a challenge to use our sewing machine or sew on pages a whole lot more, and I was having such a hard time with my sewing machine. But I've learned that it was probably the needle that I was using and the thread, so I've gone ahead and bought new needles and thread. So now I'm trying to use it a little bit more, and I'm enjoying it a little bit more than I was before. So now I'm going to distress these cork stickers, first in white with the Hero Arts ink daubers, and then in between each application I use my heat gun and dry it up. And I'm just using a pair of scissors to hold it in place because it kept flying away. And the yellow is butter bar, and it really coordinates with this layout really well. And usually you can outline cork, but for some reason, I don't know if the cork, if I should have left it overnight or what, but you're going to see me, I'm going to try and outline it with a couple of markers, and I think I've kind of ruined my markers. They weren't working, so I kind of left them alone and was hoping that maybe later on they would work again, but yeah, they stopped working. So I was like, never mind. So you're going to see me repaint them because it kind of makes a mess with the marker. So this stamp set came in, I believe it was either the Project Life or the Project Life add-on. And it's a cute little circle or oval and then has little arrows. So I'm going to use that on this layout. And I'm just trying to figure out, where I'm going to put most of the stuff. Now that I feel like I have enough embellishments, now it's, the job is to spread the embellishments across all the layers. So again, some of those flags, I cut them down close to, they weren't fully trimmed. They came in the kit. So I just trimmed it so that it would fit in my container. And then now when I use it, it's just a couple of little trims that I need to do. So I've already added some of the stickers, the doilies, and where I was going to sew, and ended up sewing. And then now I'm going to choose 3 little stickers, and the words are love, which we do, and best, and authentic. So I'm going to spread them across the layout. And the little flags say happiness right here, life is amazing, and our time. So this is where I'm going to try to outline it, and I try with my close to my heart markers, and it stopped working. And then I took my Faber-Castell, and I mean that's made for mixed media, and it still wasn't working. So it just made a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just put yellow at first, and it doesn't cover it at all. You can still see the black. So I'm going to dry that up, and then I'm going to re-put the white. Seems to be a little bit more opaque than the yellow. So I'm going to put more white on, and then once that's dry, then I'll add more yellow. And then it was covered again. And then I'm going to spread them out between the 3 embellishment clusters. And 2 of those stars kind of had an empty negative space in the middle, or a hole in the middle, and you could see like the different pattern papers in the back, and I didn't like that. So I'm gonna glue each of the cork stickers onto that yellow cardstock that I used to mat my photos, and then I'm just going to cut around it so then it looks, like the star has a backing basically. And I'm going to do the same thing with the littler star. And for the longest time I was having trouble getting my quick dry adhesive, which is my squirt bottle of glue, to work, and now I can't get it to stop. Like it just oozes out. Like as soon as I squeeze it, it just oozes out, and then it doesn't want to stop. Like it doesn't matter what I do, it won't stop. And so what I did was, that little star was just covered in glue, so I just cut around the whole thing, and I thought I'm just going to let the glue dry, and then when it's dry, then I'll use my X-Acto knife and cut around it, because it was just a mess of glue. So now that I find that I have enough embellishments, I'm going to start gluing everything down. And a couple of those banners, instead of usually the banners, I stick them under an embellishment cluster. This time here, I'm going to put it right over the stars. So it looks like, I don't know, it just looks like the little clusters just layered instead of the little banner sticking underneath. So I believe I'm now looking for my Stays On ink, because I want to stamp that little stamp set with the oval and the arrows, but part of it is going to go onto my photo. And whenever you stamp on photo, if you just use dye ink, it just takes longer to dry. It's not that it'll never dry, but it does take longer and more room for mistake. So if you take Stays On ink, it's made for stamping on slick surfaces. And what I do with any stamp set that is long, instead of trying to put it on the block, because what happens is when you put it on the block, it goes on crooked, I put it down on my mat, and then I bring my block down to it, and it seems that it's easier to get my stamp on straight without being, you know, all crooked. Now I have Stays On cleaner that I clean my stamps with right away when I use Stays On, because, you know, the word is right, it'll stay on. And I don't want my stamps to be all black. I don't like that. So I clean them off right away. And Stays On is the type of ink too that they recommend that every time you use it, basically when you buy a Stays On ink, you should be buying the refill at the same time, because every time I use it, I ink it up, and when I don't, I'm not happy with the stamping at all. It's not clear, it's not crisp, it looks dried. So that's just one thing to remember. If you buy Stays On, just get the refill right away. And now those little flags too, what I did was I put a Stampin' Up! Dimensional underneath each of them in the center so that it doesn't cave in. And then I just use glue for the side of the flags. And then I put the word love inside that little oval bubble. And now I'm going to start building on, you know, the embellishment clusters. So I'm just trying to figure out where some of the words, where they're going to go. And then there was some gold arrows that came in this month's kit, and they look like a nice yellow, you know, nice shiny yellow. And I want to put them in the 3 different clusters. And now I'm going to work on my title, and my title is just going to be Our Favorite Family Time, which we absolutely love. We even like it more than going to the theater, because the theater, like, you have to buy your junk there, and it's super expensive. As far as here, like, we bring coolers, and, you know, bring pop and chips, and they still go inside and buy the popcorn, and usually they have slushies, and, you know, buy slushies. So we still buy stuff there, but we bring chocolate bars and bags of chips, and, you know, so just different things. And we really, really enjoy that. And then we can also chat without feeling like you're, you know, bothering a whole bunch of people. So I'm going to use the Tim Holtz little letters again, and I'm going to spell out Our Favorite with those, because otherwise, because it was a pretty long title, Our Favorite Family Time. And I wish that the word time, I could have done that also in uppercase, but I didn't have any uppercase T's left, so I go with what I have. I probably could have looked for a different font and made it so that I had 3 different fonts, but I figured by changing it to lowercase, it was like a different font anyway, so I was okay with that. And, you know, my goal is to get a lot of pages done and get my December daily done for December. So I'm trying to make it so that I make quicker decisions when I do these layouts and my December daily. I'm almost done my next page for December daily. As soon as I'm done this, I'm going to work on finishing that up. So that should upload tomorrow. And now I'm going to add some yellow, I think it's called butter, or no, sunset, and also inky black, Mr. Huey ink. And now I'm going to show you a few close-ups and also a few still pictures. And again, my camera broke, so now it's really hard for me to get crisp, nice pictures because I have to really mess with it. So I was kind of hoping it was just, I don't know, little something, but I think it broke. So anyway, here are a few close-ups and the page is done. So thanks for watching. Bye.